Britain's newspapers are serving up a political storm that could change everything. We're talking billion-pound promises, a heartbreaking courtroom showdown that's been years in the making, celebrity confessions, and yes, a Conservative Party member so tall he literally stands above the rest. The front pages are absolutely packed today, and trust me, what's happening in British politics right now is something you need to understand. Let's break down what's really going on. I spent years working inside one of the biggest, most recognized media organizations you can imagine. I watched editors twist stories, reshape narratives to fit agendas, and bury what really mattered. I couldn't do it anymore, so I walked. Now I'm here, independent, answering to nobody but you, telling you what's actually happening in the world, no corporate overlords, no editorial boards deciding what truth looks like. If you appreciate that kind of honesty, do me a favor, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and if you really want to support independent journalism that doesn't bow to anyone, consider becoming a channel sponsor. It makes a real difference, and it keeps this channel alive and free to speak truth. All right, let's dive into the British press. We're starting with the Daily Express, and they're going big. I will abolish stamp duty, declares Kemi Badenoch, the Conservative Party leader. According to her speech at the party conference, Badenoch announced she would eliminate the tax on primary home purchases, a move she claims will give millions the chance to achieve Homeownership Institute for Government BM magazine. The Express is calling it a thunderous speech, full of humour and personal stories. Meanwhile, the Daily Mail goes with Kemi electrifies Tories with promise to abolish hated stamp duty. They're reporting that the party was literally energised by this bold announcement, a tax cut valued at around £9 billion, which they plan to fund through cutting wasteful spending and tackling welfare abuse, stamp duty, land tax, CHAC, Institute for Government. Now, I'm not here to tell you this is brilliant or terrible. What I am telling you is this. Stamp duty currently raises somewhere between 10 and 12 billion pounds annually for the Government Institute for Government BM magazine, and Badenoch is saying she'll just make that disappear. The question everybody should be asking is, where exactly is that money coming from? The Conservatives claim they've identified 47 billion in potential savings, including cuts to welfare, civil service, and overseas aid. Kemi Badenoch announces our plan to abolish stamp duty. Sounds great on paper, but we've heard these promises before, haven't we? Big cuts, big savings, and then reality hits, and suddenly those numbers don't quite add up. Here's where it gets interesting. The Financial Times is taking a different angle entirely. They're warning that the rapid growth of artificial intelligence, according to the Bank of England and the International Monetary Fund, could lead to a sharp market correction in stock prices, stamp duty, land tax, Institute for Government. They're comparing this to the dot-com bubble of the late 90s. Remember that. When internet startups shot up in value and then boom, most of them collapsed in the early 2000s. Are we watching the same thing happen with AI? Is all this hype about artificial intelligence going to end in tears for investors? That's a question worth asking, and it's a question that should make you very, very cautious if you're putting money into AI stocks right now. If you're finding this breakdown valuable, drop a comment below and let me know what you think about Badenoch's stamp duty promise. Is it genius politics or financial fantasy? I want to hear from you. But let's talk about something that hits on a much more emotional level. The Metro, the Sun, and the Daily Mirror are all leading with the same heartbreaking story. Kate McCann, mother of missing Madeleine McCann, gave testimony in court against Julia Wandelt, a 24-year-old woman from Poland who claims to be her missing daughter, Tyler ITV News. For those who don't remember, Madeleine disappeared in 2007. She was just 3 years old, during a family vacation in Portugal. It's been 18 years, and the pain for this family never ends. According to court proceedings at Leicester Crown Court, Wandelt, along with 61-year-old Karen Sprague from Cardiff, are accused of stalking the McCann family between June 2022 and February 2025, Tyler ITV News. Prosecutors say Wandelt sent persistent messages, made phone calls, turned up at the McCann's home, and even sent a letter signed Madeleine Tyler Yahoo. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the cruelty of that? This family has been through absolute agony for nearly 2 decades, and now they're dealing with someone showing up at their door, claiming to be their lost child. Kate McCann testified from behind a screen, describing how distressed she felt when Wandelt showed up at her home in December last year, calling her mum and demanding a DNA test, Tyler LBC. She said the persistence of the contact got to her so much that part of her brain started thinking, what if, even though she knew from photographs that Wandelt was Polish, and it didn't make sense Kate McCann breaks silence on woman claiming to be missing daughter Madeleine McCann. Gerry McCann also testified, explaining that there were 3 clear reasons they wouldn't do a DNA test. They didn't believe Wandelt was Madeleine. The Metropolitan Police had confirmed, through inquiries in Poland, that she definitely wasn't their daughter, and it wasn't their responsibility to provide DNA tests. That's a matter for investigators. Gerry McCann criticizes alleged stalker for damaging efforts to find Madeleine. During Kate McCann's testimony, Wandelt reportedly sobbed loudly in court and shouted, "Why are you doing this to me?" before being escorted out, Tyler LBC. Both defendants deny the stalking charges. This case is painful to watch unfold, and it raises serious questions about what happens when conspiracy theories and delusions collide with real human tragedy. The McCanns deserve peace, they deserve closure, and what they're getting instead is more torment. Switching gears, because the front pages today are covering a lot of ground, Victoria Beckham, former Spice Girl, if you remember that iconic group, is opening up about her struggles. The Daily Mail and The Sun are both featuring her story. She's discussing her experience with disordered eating in a new Netflix documentary. This is significant because Beckham has been a fashion icon for decades, and her extreme thinness has been a topic of conversation for years. Now she's being candid about it, talking about the pain behind the image. It's a reminder that what we see in the media, the glamour, the perfection, often hides real suffering. The Telegraph is focused on something completely different. They're highlighting doubts from former high-ranking official Lord Keir regarding Prime Minister Keir Starmer's explanation for why a court case about alleged espionage involving China collapsed. Kemi Badenoch announces our plan to abolish stamp duty. The claim is that China wasn't considered a national security threat at the time. Both accused individuals deny guilt. This story actually goes back to last year. There were reports about 2 individuals with Chinese connections who were allegedly filming parliamentary sessions on their iPads. Not exactly sophisticated espionage, if you ask me, but it raises questions about how seriously the UK is taking threats from Beijing. The Guardian takes a different approach. They're covering reforms to licensing laws for bars and restaurants. The new rules would allow these establishments to stay open longer, supposedly to boost economic growth. However, health experts are warning this could lead to an increase in incidents related to excessive drinking. Kate McCann breaks silence on woman claiming to be missing daughter Madeleine McCann. Classic trade-off, right? Economic growth versus public health. Which one matters more? That's the debate happening right now. The Guardian also reports on research showing nearly 55,000 children in Gaza are suffering from severe malnutrition, according to new studies from The Lancet and a UN agency. That's a staggering, horrifying number, and it speaks to the ongoing humanitarian crisis in the region that often gets lost in the noise of political rhetoric. Now here's where things get a little lighter, and honestly, a little absurd. The Daily Star, bless them, they always know how to find the most unusual angle. They're featuring James McAlpine, a Conservative Party conference attendee who stands 7 feet 2 inches tall. Kemi Badenoch announces our plan to abolish stamp duty. Yes, you heard that right, 7'2". He's become the star of the conference, and he's apparently joking about becoming the tallest Prime Minister in British history. The Daily Star is having an absolute field day with this, calling him the never-ending Tory and saying he's towering over Kemi Badenoch, who, by the way, apparently called him a very bright representative of the party. Look, if British politics has taught us anything, it's that personality and presence matter, and you can't get more present than being 7'2". Let's pull back and think about what all of this means. You've got Badenoch making massive financial promises, the McCann family enduring unimaginable pain in a courtroom, celebrity confessions about mental health, debates over China's threat level, warnings about AI bubbles, and a giant conservative who might run for prime minister one day. It's a lot, right? But here's the thing. This is what modern politics and media look like. It's chaotic, it's emotional, it's sometimes absurd, and it's always, always complicated. The stamp duty promise is going to dominate headlines for weeks. Opposition parties are already scrambling. Labour's Chancellor Rachel Reeves is reportedly being forced to consider new property taxes to counter this move. The Conservatives are betting big that voters care more about home ownership than they care about fiscal responsibility. Is that a winning bet? We'll see, but I'm skeptical. I've seen too many politicians promise the moon and deliver nothing. And the McCann case, that's just heartbreaking. 18 years of not knowing what happened to your child and then dealing with people who claim to be that child, showing up at your door, tormenting you. It's cruel. It's beyond cruel. Both Wandelt and Sprague deny the charges, so we'll see how this trial unfolds. But the emotional toll on the McCann family is already unbearable. Meanwhile, Beckham's documentary is going to spark conversations about body image, mental health, and the pressures of fame. That's important. These conversations matter. And the AI bubble warnings from the Financial Times? Those matter too. If you're invested in tech stocks, if you're betting on AI being the future, you better be paying attention to what financial experts are saying, because history has a way of repeating itself, and bubbles always burst eventually. The China espionage story is quieter, but no less significant. If the UK isn't taking threats seriously, if they're downplaying security risks for political reasons, that's dangerous. And The Guardian's coverage of licensing reform and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza reminds us that policy decisions have real consequences, whether it's public health at home or children starving abroad. So let's recap what we've covered today. Kemi Badenoch is pledging to abolish stamp duty, a £9 billion tax cut she claims will unlock homeownership for millions, funded by $47 billion in supposed savings. Kate McCann testified against Julia Wandelt and Karen Sprague, who are accused of stalking her family by claiming Wandelt is missing Madeleine, a cruel and painful ordeal that's playing out in court. Victoria Beckham is opening up about her struggles with disordered eating in a new Netflix documentary, shedding light on the darker side of fame. The Financial Times is warning about a potential AI market crash, comparing the current hype to the dot-com bubble. Questions are being raised about why a China espionage case collapsed and whether the UK is taking national security seriously enough. And James McAlpine, a 7'2" conservative, is becoming an unlikely star of the party conference, with jokes about becoming the tallest prime minister in history. That's Britain today, chaotic, emotional, and packed with stories that matter. If this breakdown helped you understand what's really happening, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and seriously consider becoming a channel sponsor. This kind of independent analysis doesn't happen without your support. I'm not backed by corporations. I'm not answering to advertisers. I'm here because of you. Let's keep this going. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay sharp, stay informed, and don't let anyone tell you what to think.